too.
Imagine if he's 46 or something. He's like,
all right, welcome to White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. I'm cutting off this conversation we're having. I'm starting the show. Welcome to White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. My name is Josh Bachynski. With me, as always, is my stalwart co-host, Chase Reiner. Say hi, Chase.
Hello, Chase.
Hello. Hello. Also, we're doubly blessed. We have our Facebook guru, Steve Fantasia. Say hi, Steve.
Hey, how's it going?
And we have our resident white hat, black hat, gray hat, polka dot hat SEO expert, Ted Kubaitis. Say hi, Ted. He gave us some symbols which I don't recognize because I'm not understanding the cool things.
They're gang signs.
So welcome to White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. If you've never seen the show, this is an SEO show. In fact, it's the best SEO show that there is, where we discuss the merits of both White Hat SEO and Black Hat SEO. We often have guests on the show to discuss White Hat SEO and Black Hat SEO. And today we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of really cool stuff. A bunch of neat stuff happened. John Mueller's had a bunch of leaks recently that I thought were very interesting. There were some SMX leaks that were interesting. Also, in the industry has come out, someone made a movie about SEO. It's called SEO, the movie. And we might talk a little bit about that. I watched it, Ted watched it, or at least Ted watched most of it. As much of it he could stomach. So we might talk about that a little bit later. So starting, however, we will start with, and we might even talk a little bit about Bing SEO later on, because Bing is making a comeback, which is very interesting. Then also Steve might want to talk about Facebook a bit. He had a really awesome talk last week about Facebook, and he might want to, I don't know, I don't want to put Steve on the spot, but he might want to open up his floodgates and give us some more Facebook knowledge later on the show. What do you think about that, Steve?
Yes.
Yes. All right, fantastic. Okay, so let's start off the show with the segment I call What's New in White Hat, What's New in Black Hat SEO. This week, what's new in White Hat SEO? There's been quite a lot of stuff new. In fact, I'll share my screen and show you. I will open up the vault of my notes, and you will see some of my SEO notes. Here we go. You should see that right there, right? Okay.
No Comic Sans?
Oh, okay. So is that big enough? You want me to make it bigger?
I think that's good.
Is that easier to read? All right, looks good to me. Okay, so John Mueller has had a lot of hangouts recently. John Mueller is a Google employee, for those of you who don't know. He works at the Webmaster. He's a Webmaster Trends analyst. He works in the Zurich office, and he's kind of a public relations guy. And he's been leaking a lot of Google knowledge lately. He's had many hangouts. Not all of them he leaks something interesting, but the ones he does, I like to talk about. So on May 17th, he had a hangout. In fact, he was at Mountain View, California, with his top contributors. The top contributors at the top contributors they had over in Mountain View, or the top contributors are the kind of the Webmaster Forum moderators that they have on their Google Webmaster Forum. They're not explicitly Google employees, but they do get a lot of perks from Google. Let's put it that way. Google flies them down to Mountain View, California once a year for a giant summit, to which they are treated, they're wined and dined, and they're given all kind of secret Google knowledge. And actually, in my opinion, I don't know, Ted and Chase might disagree, but in my opinion, I think these top contributors, the top contributors, I think they get access to some of the Google programs, and they can actually diagnose some issues the same way that John Mueller and Gary Ilyish, the Webmaster Trends analyst, are able to diagnose some issues. Because I've got some leaks from Google now saying along the lines of the top contributors are really, really good, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, at telling you what your Google problem is. And so if you have any kind of weird penalty, Google penalty, go there first, because they might be able to help you. So I'm wondering, maybe it's free to do. It might be, this is an aside, but it's free to do, but it might be a good idea. And I wouldn't take what they say as gospel, because they're notoriously mean, and they're notoriously biased and notoriously elitist. But that being said, seeing that it's free, if you're having any kind of Google ranking issues at all, it might be worth the 5 minutes it takes to post on the Webmaster Trends forum and ask them what they think is wrong with your SEO, and you'll get a bunch of opinions back. And again, I wouldn't just take it verbatim what they say, but if a top contributor responds and they say, hey, you happen to have this Google problem wrong, that could be a golden piece of information that you wouldn't have had access to otherwise.
I doubt it. I'd want to see some proof.
No, don't do that, Ted said. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't take it as gospel. But I'm saying it takes 5 minutes, right? And it's free to do. And if you happen to be lucky enough that a top contributor, like 99% of the time, they're going to give you just shit. But the 1% of the time, they might be like, oh, you have this penalty that you didn't even know about. I would really look at this or that. Like, listen to their answer. If they're really like, you really need to improve quality, if they're saying stuff like that, then you can have an idea of what's going on.
If I got SEO right 1% of the time, I'd be fired.
you have a point. The man has a point.
Blind squirrel finds a nut.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's, if you flip a coin, it's 50% of the time. So if you just listen to the coin, what should I do? Improve my links or improve content? Heads, tails, flink. You have a better chance that way.
Canonicals.
Okay. Canonicals. Yes. Yes. You have to watch your canonicals. Do not get kicked in the canonicals. It can hurt. Okay. So anyway, so John Mueller had a hangout here, and he talked about a bunch of stuff. He said that he does admit that they do see on-click, the JavaScript on-click event. And he also says that Googlebot does click stuff and process stuff and see any other rendering changes. We've seen this in previous SEO experiments as well, that they do process JavaScript, even if it's hidden, even if it takes 5 seconds to load, even if it's loaded in a strange way. Also, in my opinion, I think that it's pretty much confirmed that verified reviews are a ranking factor. Another leak came out recently that talked about verified reviews being a ranking factor. They all made a funny face when someone mentioned that. So in my opinion, they should not play poker, and that's what I'm taking as a leak from Google. Of course, as I always say, any Google leak has to be verified by at least your common sense experience of what you rank, and maybe correlation studies from a piece of software like, oh, I don't know, Cora, perhaps. Ted could talk about Cora a bit more. And finally, single variable experiments, like you might find in the Search Intelligence Agency group, where they can have, in a fake SERP, they break down single SEO ranking factors to see if it pushes the needle up or down.
Hold on. You know what I've heard, Josh, is that the reviews actually don't really count until you respond to them.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so that could very well be the case. That would be a way that Google can make sure that the review it's by you responding to it. It's a way of you verifying that it's a real review, possibly. But like I said, all this is just hearsay from Google, from us. It's all hearsay. And if all you have to go on is hearsay, then that's what you have to go on. But it's always better, of course, to have better evidence than just hearsay, and try and see if the correlation have any correlation factors for it, or even better, some direct evidence from experimentation. But we're going on hearsay right now, and this hearsay from Google. And sometimes, as I said, that's all you have to go off of. He did confirm in this hangout that clicking the back button or closing an interstitial, having an interstitial on your page is a ranking issue. He very strongly mentioned this, especially for mobile. He suggests doing a banner instead. And he did say, they asked him, what about we take 5 seconds to JavaScript load this interstitial? And he says they will pick up delayed interstitials. So again, I wouldn't go with an interstitial. I would go with a banner ad instead. He says make sure your mobile site is the same as your desktop site, including languages. If you have 5 desktop languages but only 1 mobile language post, you will have a 1 language website. So remember, the mobile first index is coming along probably, if not this year, early 2018, and that can be an issue for you. He was asked if there was a silent penalty, and they made their faces, as I say here, their faces were priceless. And they're like, no, there's not a silent penalty. At least they admitted there's not a silent penalty for speed issues. But John Mueller has admitted before, there are silent penalties. There are manual actions that you don't get to see in Search Console. This could definitely be a case, and this could be a case where you might want to go to the Webmaster Forum and ask. It costs nothing to ask, and you might get a golden nugget of information. As I said, you have to listen to everything else they say with a grain of salt, know how to do your SEO, or get a good SEO to also take a look. He warned that his manager announced at Google I/O to load a mobile page under 1 second, and he implied that that would be a Google issue soon, or at worst 2 to 3 seconds. So again, Google has stressed that speed is a very important factor, and they're talking about the 1 second load on mobile. Of course, it just so happens that AMP, their product, loads in 1 second on mobile. Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. And finally, for the May hangout he had, the crawls differ. They don't always pull all resources. So Googlebot doesn't always pull all the resources when it crawls. And he says the design of the page will affect your crawl budget. So a big page that takes a long time to load is going to throttle your crawl budget. That doesn't necessarily mean that your rankings will go down, but in my opinion, it's not a good idea. I would rather have the crawl rate to be as fast as possible, just in case there's some kind of ranking issue associated with the crawl rate. Before I go on with the white hat leaks, I want to mention we've also been joined. We're quadruply blessed today. Today we've been joined by Anton Schulk. How do you pronounce your last name, Anton? Schulke. There, Anton Schulke, who works for SEMrush. So thanks for joining in. Anton has had me on many of his hangouts before he was working for SEMrush. Now that he's working with SEMrush, I said, hey, you have to come on to my hangout. So thanks very much. Is it late where you are? I think you're in Europe, aren't you?
It's 16 past 11 at night.
Geez, I'd be in bed. I don't know what you're doing. Okay, well, we'll try and stay awake. If you have anything to say, let us know. Thanks very much for joining us, Anton. I just want to finish these leaks that I had here to talk about, and then we can debate whether or not you think they're true. So also June 2nd, John Mueller had a hangout, and he said a bunch of really interesting stuff in this hangout as well. He said that, of course, at SMX, they said that the Forbes links don't work anymore, that they can very easily detect blog-style links. He also mentioned on this one that any links that come from user-generated content should have a no-follow on them. And he says they can be detected as a paid link and will likely be ignored. And in my opinion, this is how they're likely ignoring the Forbes links, if indeed they are ignoring them. He also said that any sites that are quote-unquote useless don't help you rank. Their links are ignored as well. And I'll just finish with these two ones, then we can debate that. And then he says reviews are like links, that they have to be contextual. So you have to have keywords in your reviews. So tying that to the reviews we were just talking about, if you sell red shoes and the review doesn't talk about how good your red shoes are, that they're not going to help you rank. This, of course, implies that reviews that are about red shoes on your red shoes page will ostensibly help you rank. So he says they have to be about the product that you're about. Otherwise, they don't help. And finally, he strongly implied in this hangout, which I found interesting, he's implied this before. He strongly implied returning visitors is an important ranking factor or an important quality metric at least. So that was very interesting as well. I want to open it up to you guys. What do you guys think about those leaks? Do you think I'm reading too much into them? Do you have any evidence to deny them? What do you think?
That that one about useless links being ignored. My canary in the coal mine test is still ranking on page 1. It's ranked with 100% footer links using exact match anchor text. And it's all from garbage sites. Garbage sites I control, so it's not web spam per se, but it's zero value sites, and by anybody's measure, including Google's.
Yeah.
And so I'm page 1 with that. And so if they're ignoring useless sites, then why is my canary in the coal mine test still ranking page 1?
Yeah, I think that's a great test for footer links. And we've had this discussion before, and I think it's a great test for footer links. I don't know that what you consider to be garbage sites is what Google considers to be garbage sites. When John was talking about garbage sites, he's talking about like public blogs, like the kind of links you get from SE Nuke or something like that.
Yeah, but the thing is it's it's hitting Search Engine Roundtable, and all those people are going, oh no, my links aren't good enough quality. But here I'm getting links from sites that literally have no backlinks, and I've got enough of them to rank page 1. So those, what most people would consider useless, I got to page 1 with it. And that test site has been running for 2 years, waiting for the hammer to fall.
Right.
So, I mean, big grain of salt on that.
Yeah, I would also agree, because as my longtime viewers know, I've ran two recent tests. Clint, our resident black hat, who's not here today, but he's been on the show before, he pointed 100,000 GSA links at my test page. And let me show you what that did to the test page. Do you think it was a negative SEO test? Do we think that it sunk this page, or it didn't sink the page? Well, let me show you. So let me just get the screen queued up here, and I'll show you exactly what it did. So the test has almost been running for a month now. So here we go. So you see here, this is before, when there was no links pointing at the page, and it was ranking number 3. He pointed 100,000 links to it on this date. A day later, Google spidered it, pushed it to number 1. It was number 1 for about 3 or 4 days, and all of a sudden, the rankings started to fluctuate for that page. Now, I fully admit, during this period, from 90% of the people, the actual human beings I got to go check, this website, this test website, this test page he pointed links at, did not show up anywhere on the SERP, so it was gone. Although for my rank tracker here that I use, it always was on the SERP, just maybe not number 1 necessarily. But
Why
now
don't you
it's
just
back to
check
number
search
1, and
console?
even for human beings who check, it's back at number 1. And it's been number 1 steady for almost a month now, for 20, for a week now, for 2 weeks, from the 14th to the 21st, for a week. It's been steady number 1. So I don't know what to make of that.
Wait, but we don't know the keywords, Josh. It could be something that is not competitive at all.
It's not, you're right, it's not competitive at all. It's a completely made up keyword and a completely made up SERP.
So that's what I'm saying. Even if there's like 100,000 bad links pointing to it and your site's still getting penalized, maybe it's still the most relevant search for that query, and you're showing up for it because it's like zero competition.
No, that's a good point. But so there was 5 pages on this site that each were optimized for this fake keyword, and we pointed links at this one here to see if it would go down or if it would go up. So it's page based, and what happened is it went up to number 1, and then it dropped off for the SERP for a week or 2. It was gone. The whole site was gone for a week or 2, and now the site's back. All these pages are gone, but the page we pointed 100,000 links at are number 1, and it's steady number 1 for a week.
And you didn't disavow the links?
I haven't disavowed the links yet. So we're not sure what the hell's going on. It looks like GSA works, and you can point links at it, and you'll make it fluctuate a lot, but it'll stay ranking there.
Or Google's Penguin's just finally filtering out these links. I want to see what happens when Clint drops all 100,000 of those links from the website at once.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of tests we can run after this. But this seems to contradict what John Mueller is saying, because these are definitely the kind of useless sites that John Mueller is talking about. And so, our group, we tested. We're like, if we don't have, if we can get better evidence, we'll try and get better evidence. And so we tested it, and it's still ranking number 1 right now. I would give out the keyword for you all to check, but I don't want anyone to click on the page, because if you click the page, that's going to mess up the results, because click-through rate could be a ranking factor as well.
Did you see John Mueller's recent hangout where he was talking about how user metrics aren't a ranking factor?
Yeah, he's said that for years. At first he said 2 or 3 years ago, he hinted that they might be, and then the public relations people came down, and him and Gary Ilyish and Miley Oyi all were saying the same thing, that or Andrei Lapatsev were all saying the same thing, that it's not a user ranking, it's not we do not detect, what do they say, quote unquote, we do not use the analytics bounce rate as a ranking factor, quote. That's what they all said verbatim, right? So clearly the public relations team came down and said, this is what we say. And if they have a canned answer for any question, they're doing something with it. Otherwise, why would they have a canned answer?
And John Mueller, in that one tweet a couple months ago, did imply that repeat visitation might be a basis for quality.
Yes.
It's not an exact quote, but it's what he was implying to a question.
Oh, he said it like 5 to 10 times. And so I'm always wondering, are they looking at repeat visitors? Are repeat visitors like backlinks? It would be easy enough to test. I'm not sure if the SIA group did test it. I'll have to check. But they've done hundreds of tests now, so it's hard to keep track. But I can check my spreadsheet and see. So it's very interesting. It's hard to tell Also regarding Forbes, I had another guy who got a link on Forbes, and so we pointed it to another one of my test pages, and it didn't go anywhere. It didn't move the needle at all. So, you know, we don't know. That didn't make it look good for Forbes links. I don't know why people are paying $4,000 or $5,000 for them. So, you know, that makes me a little bit nervous. So that was interesting. That's kind of what's going on in White Hat SEO right now. So I'm going to keep people apprised of this test that we're running. I'm going to let it run for maybe a few more weeks to see if it drops off the map. And if it doesn't, then I will file a disavow for this site and disavow all those links that I can find. An interesting point that Google says that we ignore, John Mueller said this numerous times. He said, we ignore 99% of those kind of spam links. And Clint built literally 100K links pointing to this page. But when you search Google for these backlinks, which you can very easily do, you'll see that they've actually only spidered and indexed about 400 of these pages or so. So that's well over 99% ignoring, right? Maybe that's what Google means when they say they ignore 99% of these links, is that they can filter out over 99% of these kind of garbage backlink pages, therefore the links don't count. Chase, Ted, do you have Anton, do you have an opinion about that?
Index counts in Google are suspicious anyway, especially when you get them through search.
Yeah.
Well,
they can be.
This was actually a debate I had with somebody at the internet marketing conference I went to in Vegas, and they were saying, if the links aren't indexed on Google, do they still count?
That's a good question. Now, Dory Friend did a test and claimed there's many states of de-indexing, right? There's pages that Google's never seen before. Those links can't count. There's pages that they've seen and caffeine spidered but filtered out. I don't think they count. There's links that they've spidered and then de-indexed or hidden from search, the same way you can go into Search Console and hide pages from search. Dory Friend says those de-indexed, those manually de-indexed pages still count, and those links still count. And Ren Fishkin also did an experiment which seems to prove that, because they deleted pages to see if the link juice still stayed there, and pages stayed ranking where they were, even though the link juice had been gone for months until they finally disappeared. And Google had tried to respider that backlink page like 8 times.
This is why I don't focus on building links as much as authority, though, is because it seems to me like it's just getting more and more complicated. There's so much more that needs to be tested, and Google's constantly releasing updates that, you know, nobody really knows what they're doing anymore. So for me, it's like I would just rather try to build a brand on like 4 different channels and like really drive like hyper-specific content that's really good around that, and then start building authority instead of focusing on all of this, like, and I've been saying this forever, but it just seems like more and more of a waste of time where people are just running in circles trying to figure out how to put out a fire or how to, you know, make a house, build a house with links, which might go on fire at any moment.
Oh, you white hat. You white hat, you. Okay.
Just to counter one of those notions, there's a growing minority of people who actually measure what's happening, and what they'll do when there's an algorithm change is they'll take the measurements from before the algorithm change and the measurements the week after, and they'll look and see what's different. So if you have enough of the right measurements, the right factors, you can basically tell what's different in the algorithm and what you need to do differently. And it's a very new thing. It's not mainstream, but it is happening.
Yeah, you can guess. I mean, you can always guess, or you can just go with what works.
Well, but this isn't guessing. This is measurement. You know, you can measure and have the data, and then use the data to inform your decision.
Use that data from yesterday, and the things got changed again tomorrow. I mean, it's just like every day it's something different. It's just like.
But that's just it. You see, I have data from yesterday and I have data from today. I can compare the two. It takes me 4 to 8 minutes to get that data.
For all of the different ranking signals that Google's releasing that, you know, we really actually have no idea unless we test, which could change at any moment is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, and that's the truth. All SEO wisdom you have might not be true tomorrow, and unless you're measuring, you in fact won't know.
That's why I don't focus on building links. I focus on building authority.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want to join this debate. I'm thinking of it. Okay, so that was the debate. That was the rant-and debate between Chase and Ted. Moving on now. Steve says just buy clicks at Facebook. Why don't you just go to Facebook and buy some clicks?
Buy traffic.
Just buy traffic. There you go. Okay, so let's move on to talk about some new stuff now. And actually, it's really old. It's not new at all. So, did you know that there was this thing called Bing? And did you know that you can do searches on it? And did you know that search is always changing, and Google does have the vast market share, and it has always had the vast market share since it's been, really robust. But that Bing is supposedly making a comeback because Bing has been imported into new versions of Windows, and we always have new kind of phones coming out with different search engines. We have new kinds of home listening devices that are spying on you all the time. Home assistants that you can talk to that have different search engines. And so it's when technology changes, when we stop searching on the desktop here and we start moving to going to phones or searching on our guitars or searching on whatever we're searching on, the rules of the game can change. And so Ted and I were having a discussion before this about Bing, and he was been running some, and we're talking about, is Bing coming back? And Clint, again, that we mentioned before, he's getting a lot of good traffic on Facebook, on Bing. Sorry, I saw Steve's face, so I just saw Facebook. Clint is getting a lot of good traffic on Bing, and it's more than you might expect. And Ted was using his software, is trying to adapt his software, his core software, which right now looks at Google correlations for ranking. He's trying to make Bora, the Bing, the Bing equivalent of Quora, that will search Bing for the correlation studies of what helps you rank in Bing. And Ted, talk a little bit about. It was surprising what you found. Ted, talk a little bit about what you found so far.
Yeah, and I'm not ready to release the data, but the initial view of it is that backlinks don't correlate like they do in Google. And in hindsight, this blew my mind, but in hindsight, it seems well obvious because Google has the PageRank patent, and if Bing tried to use that patent, they'd be sued into oblivion. So they must be doing something different because backlinks aren't correlating strongly in Bing. And so I'm wondering what is. And in the keywords I did do measurement data for, it was term frequency was the #1 correlating factor. Exact match term frequency was #2. And then the sentence count was the third. And probably the top dozen or so factors in the correlations were all related to on-page tuning.
On-page factors, right? That's kind of. So, are we in a position? If it's very early, as you mentioned, but for now, are we kind of in a position to say it looks like SEO for Bing is just on-page SEO? Just say the term as much as possible in the longest page possible, and that'll rank the highest?
It definitely gave that feeling. I'd want to see more data before saying it's definitive. And I definitely want to hear from people on how they rank on Bing. What's your formula? Because if people have these anecdotes of, well, I always do X and I rank great on Bing, those are things that we can really use to dig deeper and find out what's going on.
Yeah, so folks, if you do rank on Bing, if you know about Bing ranking, by all means, let us know. Put it up here in the chat. I should mention that right now we got 50 people watching. That's fantastic. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching this on YouTube, the chat box is on the top right-hand side. If you have any questions for us, try to make sure you put 3 asterisks before it so I can see it, so I can see the questions and I can also answer them as well. Someone asked for more cussing. All right, we can definitely cuss more. Darn it. Is that a cuss? In Canada, that's a cuss. In the US, is that a cuss?
That's Canadian cussing.
That's Canadian cussing. Darn, farn it, snow, long johns, little bats.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was very dirty what I just said. I know. Tabernacle. That actually is a Canadian swear. That's French Canadian. Tabernacle. I just said. I said it again. I just insulted like an entire province of people. I apologize, Quebec. I love you. You're wonderful, beautiful, beautiful province with beautiful cities. I'm looking for any questions in here. I can't find them. So if you have questions for us, Bora. Yes, that's right, Simon. So if you have any questions for us, someone asked, could you clarify the hidden penalty thing? Yeah. So Google is not supposed to have any hidden penalties. There's two ways of getting a penalty. So I'm going to start using Google's lingo so it's a little bit more clear. There's what's called an algorithmic demotion, and there's what's called a manual action. They don't like the word penalty because it sounds very, very negative, right? They don't like anything negative. They don't like to look like the bad guys, and they don't like to look like they're doing anything wrong or elitist or, corptocratic, Machiavellian, those kinds of adjectives. So they try to avoid the word penalty, and they call it an algorithmic demotion or a manual action. Just like that. That's the stuff that Steve likes, the manual action. He likes some manual action going. Sorry, never mind. So the algorithmic demotion is stuff like Panda or Penguin, where an algorithm is running in the background. It assesses your ranking factors. It decides that it doesn't think that they're legitimate and or you're high enough quality. And so you get a demotion from the algorithm really without any human being ever looking at it. The AI makes that decision. A manual action is where these same algorithms don't think you're that great or think you might be cheating or thinks you might be low quality, and they bubble up your website to the manual action team, the manual spam team. Last count, as far as I know, they got like 12,000 people over in India is their manual action team. I don't know if anyone's heard any stats recently. That was in January 2012. I don't know if they've dropped that number. They always try and fire employees so they can get the computer doing more. But anyway, the algorithm bubbles up your site. Somebody sees it and they click a button, yes, flush it down the toilet, and you get a manual action. And there's like 12 different kinds of manual actions. There's actions versus links, action versus spam. There's all kinds of manual actions that you can get. And it tells you what it's about. You get it in your search console. You get an email and a message in your search console, and it tells you what that's about. Now, any kind of manual action you're supposed to get is, and John Mueller has promised, because we complained a whole lot, and Google was getting into a little bit of trouble. They've been sued over this a number of times. That if Google has made an action on your site, they have to tell you in Search Console, right? But then John Mueller has also waffled, and it's kind of come out, and he's implied and hinted that there are manual actions that are hidden that you don't always see in the in Search Console. So that's what they are for the person who asked. I think it's nasty. It's kind of an unethical thing. And it's usually reserved for sites that are so beyond repair and so nasty in their view that they have to get rid of, and or maybe this is a bit conspiracy theory-ish, but maybe sites that are competing with them and in areas they want to compete in, maybe something like that's going on, but that's debatable. That's debatable. So that's the answer to that question. Okay, so let's move on to Steve. Steve Fantasia. Last week you talked to us about Facebook, and today you said that you were thinking that you wanted to perhaps open up the floodgates for Facebook again this week. What do you have in mind for Facebook?
Well, one of the things I'm seeing, first of all, I just want to say I did a contest last week to give a 30-minute free consult. I'm doing that again. I had a really good response, didn't get to everybody. So if you send me an email at steve@brightsourcemedia.com, I'll pick a winner up until probably until next show. So keep going, because I know that some of the viewers don't see it all the time. But one of the
some of the viewers don't work.
Well, I mean, no.
Are you saying my viewers are unemployed? What are you saying?
Some of the viewers are homeless, Josh.
You get they just have Wi-Fi. They go to Wi-Fi hotspots. you get trail view, like viewers a few days, 4 days, 5 days later kind of thing. So, but one of the things I'm seeing everywhere, almost daily, is people doing their ads on their personal Facebook account. I just want to say stop and literally if you're doing that, go on to business.facebook.com, create a business manager, and create an ad account, and then you won't get your fan page, your personal page banned. You have a lot more. You can share your pixel. You can do all sorts of stuff. So immediately start doing that. And the second hint I want to say is stop just relying on website conversion ads. Those are the most expensive ads Facebook has. There are 17 other ad types. One of the ones I want to point you to, brand awareness. You guys should be looking into that ad. Try brand awareness ads. One of the benefits of that is it's cheaper, but you can also put a URL on it. So what happens when there's a URL on an ad? People click it. So byproduct would be low-cost website clicks. Those are my little nuggets. That's a big nugget.
We like that. We like your big nuggets.
Big nougat. It's a big nougat.
A big nougat, like a Cadbury cream egg. Fantastic. Okay, so you heard it here, folks. Steve is here to answer any Facebook questions you might have. And also, he's opened the floodgates for his Facebook stuff. So email him, talk to him about his Facebook stuff. Fantastic. We're doing a bunch of Facebook stuff right now. It's great. So we've talked about Google. We've talked about Bing. We've talked about Facebook. Anton, you haven't said much. I know you're tired. Well, what do you have to say, my friend? He's looking how to unmute. He's really tired. It's really late.
Yeah, for some reason didn't show. Yeah, no, I'm just listening. Yeah, I'm new here, so I'm interested to know what people think.
Yeah, do you have any opinion about the stuff we've been talking about? What do you think from SEMrush?
You mean this ranking factors, everything?
Yeah. Well, SEMrush recently posted what they thought were the ranking factors. We were wondering if you were allowed to talk about that, if we were allowed to blow big holes into that, if you care, if you're worried about that.
I can't talk as a representative of SEMrush. I can talk only for myself.
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what does Anton say?
I don't know. You've seen it. The number one is traffic, actually, which is a big question, isn't it? Where is the chicken? Where is the egg? Obviously, if you're in the top 10, you have a lot of traffic. So it doesn't mean traffic is a ranking factor. Well, they tried to actually eliminate organic traffic, but they did it basically very, how to say, mechanically. Just look at the traffic, take organic, and took away. And it's absolutely, for me, it's not good enough. For me, it's still a big question. What is egg? What is chicken? So like an old anecdote about where crouch has ears. I can prove that crouch has ears on the legs, because if we put crouch on the table and knock at the table, it runs because it's afraid. But if you turn away turn off all the legs, it doesn't run. So ears, they're on the legs.
Oh, I think Anton might be getting, either that's a very European reference that we don't get, or you're really tired right now. So, but I understand what you mean. Yeah, it's the chicken or the egg. Is it cause or correlation, right? Just because there's a lot of traffic, they look at the top websites that are ranking and say, wow, these guys have a lot of traffic. Maybe traffic's a ranking factor, and so it is hard to test. We have tested it in the Search Intelligence Agency. I've done personal tests. For years, I've been testing whether traffic has a ranking factor, because Google's been hinting for like 4 years now. That's where they're going. That's kind of what they're looking at doing. I believe it's a ranking factor. There's some strong correlation that Facebook ads, traffic from Facebook, even the ads can be a ranking factor. There's correlation that your SEO ranks go up when you turn on Facebook, and they go down when you turn it off. So that's pretty interesting evidence. But at the same time, what is that traffic doing when it gets to your website? They've also mentioned bounce rate. They've also mentioned, traffic being upset. The Panda patent released in 2012 talks about bounces back to the search results, talks about having a low quality score if they bounce around all your site and don't convert right away. So, I personally think that traffic is definitely a ranking factor from all these factors, but it's really hard to nail down in an experiment. Ted, did you have anything you want to say about any of this? I could see you there with that Ted wants to comment face.
Finding the mute button. No, I think the chicken and the egg response is dead on. You can't. you can't take something that is the end goal of SEO that you hope to get from doing SEO and then say that that is the cause of what makes SEO work. You have a definite conflict of your definition there. So, I mean, we all hope to get traffic. So if it takes traffic to get traffic, that's going to be a very one-sided contest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but theoretically, you can buy a lot of traffic and rank first, and after that, you have traffic.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to think that, you know, there's a little bit of evidence for click-through rate, you know, which isn't, you know, traffic all by itself. There's actually engagement with the SERPs. And I'm, you know, a bit stronger inclination to think that repeat visitation via the SERPs. But, you know, on all of these, we still need a lot more data.
Yeah, what traffic is the beneficial traffic? So there's an SEO theory that high click-through rate is an SEO is a factor, and that's the ranking factor. Or there's another theory that repeat visitors is the ranking factor, and so that's the traffic, that's the factor. Or there's another theory that traffic through your backlinks is a ranking factor, either giving juice to your backlinks or traffic itself could be a factor. So it's really hard to say and suss it out. We're doing tests in the Search Intelligence Agency. I think all those things are ranking factors, actually, personally. And if I can go for them, I will go for them all. I will, of course, make a quality website first, because that's the first thing you need to do. Because I am, just like Chase, I am a white hat as well. And at the end of the day, Chase and I are the same. I'm just the older version of Chase. Just put glasses on me, just put glasses on Chase and grow a beard, and that's what he ends up being right here. So this is what he has to look forward to.
Well, I lost my glasses, but I think what it really comes down to is, like, what do you want to spend your time on? Because there's so many different things that you can do to achieve rankings, right? But I think ideally what the basis of most people's thoughts on SEO is, what do I do that's going to achieve the biggest benefit? And in terms of SEO, do you want to spend time doing something that's long-term, or do you want to do something that's short-term, right? Because you can always become really good at creating higher click-through rates through, you know, title tag optimization. You can build links, you can do all these things. But what I believe it comes down to is building two things. It's building hyper-relevant, extremely specific data or content for what people are looking for, and also building authority around that and capturing that audience in different channels. Because that, to me, makes the most sense if you look at it from a time/cost/benefit perspective.
Right. Yeah. No. I pretty much agree. I would try and do something relevant to the user first, make it high quality first, make it convert perfectly, make it sell perfectly, and then if I need, that's what you always have to do first. Even black hats will admit that. That's what you have to do first. And then if that's not enough to rank, then you need to maybe start doing more marketing and maybe adding on black hat signals. Maybe, who knows? Okay. So I've got some more questions here in the chat. George asks, please give us your input about the value of RSS syndication. What do you guys think the value of RSS syndication is?
I love it. Mainly because it's a great way to get content. If you know how to make the syndicated snippets unique, it can be very beneficial. It's a great community service. I applaud anyone who syndicates their content for the world to use.
So that you can
use a black hat answer, but yeah, I hope it continues for a long, long time.
And just to give a counterpoint,
may not help you rank, but it helps other people rank for sure.
there you go. There you go. So as a counterpoint, I hate it. I think it's the worst content in the world. And if I have any client using it, I will tell them definitely not to use it, because they probably don't know what they're doing like you do, and it's probably duplicate content and crud content and thin content and not helping them at all. Not only that, unless you're getting serious traffic from it, or you're not getting any link juice from it, Google's definitely ignoring those links, in my opinion. That shouldn't be the main cornerstone of your strategy anyway. I'm so against RSS indicated content that I even talk about like the HATM or the H-entry schema microdata format that you would use to tell Google that you are syndicated content. I would remove that from your website, because the last thing you want to tell Google, the last thing you want to tell them is that you are a website of nothing but syndicated content. That probably wouldn't be a good idea. In my opinion, I have no tests to back that up.
Well, I have a test to back you up. You're right. H-entry does correlate in a bad way quite frequently.
Yes,
So
I am the champion. Okay.
its correlation tends to be the more of it you have, the worse you rank. It's not all the time. It's not a hard and fast rule, but of the things that look like they do harm, that might be a contender.
Yeah, and I mean, John Mueller has been saying to remove that from your schema for a while. So, you know, when you have 5 levels of SEO evidence, I apologize to people who listen to me often. They were groaning now, God, the 5 levels of evidence again. Jesus, do I have to hear about this? Darn flute and Labatt's light long johns. The 5 levels of evidence are, sorry, I had to curse in Canadian again. The 5 levels of evidence are single variable tests where you controlled everything and you tested it. Niche specific correlation studies like the kind that TED Software does, where you can search for Red Apples, Minneapolis, and see what is actually correlating for ranking in that niche and what is correlating, strongly correlating for and strongly correlating against. Then what Google says mitigated by, then what your own experience says, sorry, what you've been ranking for years and what you think is a ranking factor, but you've never tested it here. Then what Google says mitigated against common sense, and then what other SEOs say. Notice that I'm another SEO, so you're listening to that down here right now. You're on the pinky finger of SEO evidence right now, but at least I'm listening to all these other 4 ones, and I'm mitigating it down here for you to there.
And we all agree, keep syndicating your content. The world needs it.
Yeah, Ted needs more content. So please write him some free content and syndicate it more so he can use his black hattery to get it. Okay, so SEO 530 Limited says that they've tested to agree with something we said. One of their sites has 96% top 10 rankings on Bing, but only 20% on Google. On-page is massive. So there's someone confirming that they think on-page SEO is the way to go for Bing SEO. That's interesting. Thank you very much for that little bit. Steve asks, please continue to use Red Apples as your example. That's not a question, Steve. That's a request. Do you not understand the difference between a question and a request? One is a quest. The other is a request. Get it? Ha ha ha. Sorry, never mind. Someone asked, Chase, how do you build authority? Chase, how do you build authority?
I mean, personally or for clients, there's a basic outline that I use for building authority that seems to work really efficiently in most areas. So what I try to focus on in pretty much any situation is focusing first on 5 to 10 cornerstone pieces of content. What that means is that you get content that has something that you can continually relaunch and add to. So like these are types of skyscraper articles, as some people know with Brian Dean's methods. You grab those articles. So recently I actually just did this. I created about 2 months ago top techniques for underutilized white hat SEO strategies for 2017. And it was a 5,000 word post, and then I relaunched it. It was 10,000 words, and then I relaunched it again recently, actually like yesterday, and now it's 13,000 words with over 30 contributions and 60 other tips, so 90 tips altogether. So I can continue to relaunch this. I could double that again and go to 180 tips, and I can streamline the process by doing content automation, by going out and emailing people through like Pitchbox, getting them to put their tips in. I get them to link to my site afterwards because they're involved in the post and they also share it. From that point, I create a funnel inside of that post where I channel people to other platforms like Facebook groups that I control, YouTube channels that I control as subscribers, email lists that I control, and all of these things I can now use to leverage because I control them. This is a lot different than when people go and they build liabilities instead of assets. Like links are a liability. I don't care what people say, you could lose it at any moment or you could get a penalty from it. Even if it's a great link, it could still happen. I know there's a lot of people who would argue, but it could happen.
No, you're right.
With syndicated content, with anything that you don't control and you don't have leverage on yourself, you're using these as liabilities. Also, you get a lot more leverage when you have channels that you give away stuff for free. So like for YouTube or Facebook, I've been able to generate over 130 5-star reviews on my Google My Business location and then other Google My Business locations that I own because I give away stuff for free. And basic human psychology is that if you give something to somebody for free, they end up giving you back tenfold versus if they were to pay for it. So we could create an entire 10-hour course on this, but ideally you don't think about what can I do as a one-time quick fix, and think about building leverageable assets that you control and building authority in your niche.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's all good stuff. I mean, that's great. That's really clever content marketing. It's definitely, you're in good company. A lot of people are doing that for sure. And I have nothing negative to say against it. What I'm about to say is definitely not to be construed as negative against that. I'll tell a story. I was doing SEO for a major client, and this major client provides quotes for a kind of insurance. And they want to be at the laser end of the sales funnel. They want to be at the sales end. They don't want to be a content marketing kind of company. But if they don't do any content marketing, well, then what kind of marketing are you going to do, right? And so I went to one local company that does blog position for you, cough, sells links, cough, cough. And because there was no content marketing going on, they had nothing to promote really from this company. They have no, wow, top 10 ways to get insurance kind of articles. So they had nothing to push on all the blogs that they wanted to buy, for us to sell and buy links on, cough, I mean, to good placement on. So that was a problem. So it's like, content marketing definitely is a model, and a good model. Don't get me wrong. I'm not critiquing what Chase just said in any way. You need some kind of marketing model, and that's a good, clever one. But it's not the only one. But it really depends where you want to be in the sales funnel. But again, you need some kind of marketing model, and that's a fantastic one. Morgan Thompson asks, I have another question here. Morgan Thompson asks, what are some long-term SEO services? For initial clients, most of the legwork is front-loaded. You do a site audit, fix the gross errors on the website, and then track a few keywords. What's next? Is that all you need to do, Ted? Anton, you just do an audit for a client, and then you just fix those errors, and they rank perfectly after that?
Well, there's always room for improvement. Let me put it this way. One of my goals in the past for a client was to maximize their exposure on page one. And we did that utilizing 15 different websites. And so for Black Friday each year, we would have, 7 or 8 of the number one of the page one organic results. And we'd also have like 4 or 5 of the pay-per-click ads on the page. If you've got one link on page one, there's a whole world of more links on page one you could be targeting. So the work is by no means done once you get to the top of page one.
Yeah, I should mention, bye, Anton. I guess he left. I guess he didn't want to answer this question. No, it's really late where he is. Thanks, Anton, for joining. Anton from SEMrush, that's who that was. He works in the European office side, I guess, whatever it is, because he's from Europe. Yeah, I mean, this is how I operate. I do an initial audit to start, because you have to find, and I argue that's the way. Oh, he's back. Hi. I argue we thought we offended you, Anton. I thought he probably fell asleep on the keyboard and just hammered his head hit it. And
more or less like that. Yeah.
This is how I do SEO. Is I do an audit first always, because if I just start trying to do positive SEO for your site and building your social media up and getting Steve to do awesome Facebook stuff for you and trying to get links and shazamming your website like crazy from Facebook and all the positive stuff and getting reviews and ratings and all those kinds of things, you still might not rank anywhere. You still might go anywhere, because I haven't checked your on page to see if your on page is good enough yet. And I haven't checked any technical SEO issues. You could have a huge technical SEO issue that I don't know about. So that's why you need to do you could have a penalty for all I know. You could have an algorithmic demotion. There's stuff there that you might need to fix. So you got to start with an SEO audit. You got to check out to see what's going on. But that's only half the work. Maybe they have enough juice. They have enough authority. They have enough quality. They have enough content or whatever that they could rank on page one, but there's some technical issue to fix, and you fix it for them, and they're ranking again in 3 weeks, and you look like you're a superstar. I've done that many times, but it's not because I'm so great. It's only because they just had something really dumb to fix, and I had the wherewithal to look for it in my brain. I found it, and then I fixed it, and it made me look like a superstar. But you know, anyone who had half an idea what they were doing would have seen that, right? Like, oh, the robots text, your whole website is disallowed. I wonder why you're not ranking. Let me change your robot text. There we go. Yay! It's huzzah! I'm a miracle worker. So
Okay, but let's assume, Josh, that there's perfect on-page SEO, the site architecture is set up correctly, all of the schema markups already in place. And we'll say in a parallel universe that links don't matter. What do you do at that point?
Well, then if links don't matter, then I would want to know what the major ranking factors are. And I would assume it has to be social and buzz, and so I would go for those because that's the only thing left.
Well, you can also flip from rankings to revenue, and it's a whole nother ball game when you start optimizing revenue with SEO.
Right. And that's the other thing is I'm looking at your conversion paths, I'm looking at your sales, I'm looking at your sales conversion rates, and I'm looking at everything. So even if I get you 5 more customers, I want them to convert 100% more. So the SEO has a big job actually, and Ted, you're actually right. There's more KPIs than just ranking, of course, and one of the main key performance indicators, that's what KPI means, whoop-de-woo, one of the other key performance indicators is conversions, is revenue, of course. And so we should be boosting all of that stuff, and it's good when you're in SEO, you could go back and forth from all of them and try and improve them all across the board. So to answer your question, after the audit, that's where the work starts. The audit is the initial work, and sometimes it's enough to get the site going. But after the audit, you need to do SEO. You need to build up the content. You need to fix the pages. You need to redesign. You need to change the structure. You need to change the URL structure. You need to get people out there talking about you on social. You need to get Facebook ads. You need to call this guy right down here, Steve. That guy right there. You need to call him, and he needs to get some of your Facebook going.
But try not to change your URL structure, please.
Yes, try not to change your URL structure. That I should mention that. That's always a bad idea, unless you're not ranking at all. If you have no rankings whatsoever, then you might want to convert to a silo structure. Then that might be a good idea because you would get the boosts from doing that. But if you're already ranking page 1, no, do not change your URLs at all in any way, shape, or form. So thanks very much, guys. That's been about an hour. I'm going to end today's show with my favorite segment, which is called What Would Google Do? What would Google do? We've been talking a little bit about the future and how Bing may become a bigger search engine. I want to ask everybody on the panel your opinion. There's no right or wrong answers. You know, Facebook is in the mix here. Bing is in the mix. Amazon is in the mix. Amazon just bought Whole Foods. Amazon is looking like it's going to be the biggest, not only information company, but the biggest company, period, in history. Yeah. It looks like it's going to hit 1 trillion value. You know, Google search is just one, as big as they are and as much market share as they have had and do currently still have. Anything could change at any time. So what do you think Google is going to, but Google's not going to give away that market share easily. Well, so what do we think Google's going to do to pivot and try and maintain their market share in the face of these other giants that are coming up?
Well, Google's #1 competitor is not Bing. It's Amazon because of the volume of product searches going in through Amazon. So I'd bet anything that Google's trying to take a piece of Amazon's market share.
Oh, for sure. As soon as people start asking their Amazon device, you know, hey, send me this, that Google is out of the question. Google is no longer the go-between between the buyer and the Agora anymore, the marketplace. So Google is going to try and have their phone listening, so when they hear you say that, they could pop up on your phone. Wait, I found it cheaper at so and so. Like what is Google going to do to try and retain this market share? They're thinking about it. They don't know. Anton's too tired. It's way too late in Europe. Chase decided to party. He's partying now. He's not there anymore. Ted already gave an answer, so he doesn't want to say anything again. Steve is just looking sexy. That's what Steve does. Steve do is Steve do.
I think Ted's right. I think all eyes are on Amazon right now in terms of Google. It's just getting everywhere, especially if they nail down the brick and mortar side of things. It's going to change everything. Drinking game Facebook. I do think Facebook has the social aspect cornered. I don't know. Google tried the Google Glass and the Google whatever Google did, but it didn't really work.
Google.
So they might try and buy something else, maybe smaller or something to compete against it. But I think Amazon.
Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Labatt Light, Wayne Gretzky, hockey puck. All right. So thank you very much. This has been White Hat versus Black Hat. I'd like to thank my contributors, Anton Schalke, Ted Kubaitis, the fantastic Steve Fantasia, Chase Reiner, who's so fast and on the go. He's already left the hangout. I'm out of here. Millennials, I have no time for this. My phone told me, I'm out of here. Blah.
I have to go get
He's got to go vote because all the millennials forgot to vote last vote. Ooh, did I say that? Oh, I did. All right, so thank you very much. This has been White Hat versus Black Hat. Yeah, we vote in Canada.
I'm just kidding.
It's a very interesting process. It involves polar bears. And that's why we're so concerned about global warming, because they carry the ballots from province to province.
Hey, Josh, can you throw a Quora link up there in case people want to see what that's all about?
Yeah, sure. I could throw a Quora link up here. I should also mention, I forgot. Here, you give me a link. Ted, you give me a link while I'm thinking about it. I'll put it up there. I should mention also, for those of you who've been listening, the super secret White Hat versus Black Hat SEO Symposium 2017 is still going on. The hotel is now booked. We're at the Victoria Marriott Inner Harbor Hotel in Victoria, BC, Canada. The conference is August 27th to 29th. It is the most amazing cast of Black Hat and White Hat SEOs and maybe a Black Hat Facebook guy, if I can just guilt him into coming across the entire continent, because he's so damn sexy. See, I'll keep fluffing his ego, and maybe eventually he'll decide to show up. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Edward. So come on down to this conference. It's going to be fantastic. SEMrush is going to be there. Hopefully, I asked. He said he'd be there. Maybe he'll go. Maybe he won't. But lots of people are going to be there. It'll be fantastic. And it's like this hangout, except a million times better, because there's no cameras. It's not recorded. And all the White Hats and Black Hats will have more time to talk about all the secrets, and we'll have no reason not to talk about the secrets. So email me if you're interested in that. Here in the chat, I will put both in the chat and in the description, I will put the link to Quora's software. Let me edit the description here. And like I said, if you have any questions, email me, and I will be happy to answer your SEO questions. Do you find folks on the panel have anything left to say before we sign off?
No.
Well, then, in the great, by honoring the great tabernacle of Wayne Gretzky, Labatt's hockey puck, I thank you all for watching White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show, and we'll see you next time. Wave bye.